Lilith and I have already finished filming the podcast. It seems a little dark and depressing, but I promise you it's worth it. But again, if you are not in a state where you feel like this would be good for you to listen to or watch, that is completely fine. If you like the more funny side of things, this one is still funny, but it's a little more serious than the other two that we've done. So the first link in the description is going to be the last episode of the Batshit Crazy podcast if you want something kind of cheer you up. But this isn't meant to demotivate you. If you're someone who gets easily demotivated, not the video for you. Thank you. That is all. Enjoy. Batshit Crazy.
Run away while you can. Hi guys, welcome to the Batshit Crazy podcast,
where we just don't give a shift. All right, we did it. We got through it. The end. Bye, guys.
3 times.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, it took us 3 times to do that, but we're gonna power ahead. We're gonna do it. For those of you who don't know, because we forgot to introduce ourselves last time, my name is Lilith.
I'm Carly.
And we're trying our fucking best.
All right, grab a drink, grab a snack. We're talking about shifting fears. If you're someone who gets demotivated easily, or you think this isn't for you, sit this one out. It won't hurt our feelings.
And actually listen to that if you get demotivated easily. Don't go in her comment section and get mad if you get demotivated.
Please God, I do not have the strength.
Also for reference, we mentioned in the first 2 episodes we couldn't see each other. Carly has a fancy new computer and we can actually see each other now because she has a webcam, which means this is about to be everybody's problem because I can see her and she's a fucking mess. Something that I suggested that we do at the beginning of every podcast now is we should share what our snacks are, because we do this at like 11 o'clock at night and God forbid we sit down for 2 or 3 hours to do this and not have snacks. So Carly, share with the audience what your snack is.
I mean, I had cereal.
She's secretly a putty tat.
I got goldfish. Gotta show Willits as well. My son's Easter M&Ms, but we're not gonna tell him. It's fine.
I'm gonna call him up on his pretend cell phone and tell him tomorrow.
A bottle of water. And those are my snacks.
For reference, there was cereal in her bowl of milk. She doesn't just have a bowl of milk.
No, it was Captain Crunch, and I poured way too much milk in the bowl. I'm gonna go, well, what do I do with this?
Okay. For my podcast snacks, I have an entire container of water. I just refilled it fresh. I have, the label got ripped off of it, but I have a protein shake. It is chocolate flavored because I wanted some chocolate. And speaking of wanting chocolate, while she has nothing but a bowl of milk, I have nothing but a bowl of cereal without any milk. Together we are each 1/2 of a whole. And I have some of my Easter candy in a bowl because I like to put it in the fridge because it's hot in my house and it'll melt if I don't put it in a bowl.
Did you Easter egg hunt them yourself?
No, I have a mom who still makes me an Easter basket even though I'm 29. This is my Easter basket that my mommy made for me. She made one for all 3 of her children, even though we are 29, 26, and 20. And I told her if she stops making me Easter baskets when I turn 30, that I will have a meltdown. So she needs to prepare for that and make choices wisely. We had people that asked us to do an episode about shifting fears because we did mention them previously. And I'm actually really excited to do this episode, even though I was originally dreading it because I feel like, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm on some sort of existential journey right now. My dead flowers are distracting the shit out of me. You guys have to go home. I'm on some weird existential journey where I'm trying to identify and deal with my shifting fears, so I feel like this is perfectly timed.
And I feel like not a lot of people talk about it because I know for the longest time whenever anybody said anything that wasn't, you're gonna shift tonight's the night, if it wasn't like super motivating, even if it was just neutral, people would get absolutely shat on in their comments. So,
yeah,
don't do that.
Weren't even allowed to use negative words, like, in their scripts in the early days because people were so scared of backlash.
Keep an eye out for the Ship Talk Misconceptions video. And I feel like I have actually a list this time to try and be a little bit more organized because I don't know how you edited the last podcast. I was delirious and all over the place. It's not midnight yet, so that's already an improvement. But I have mine broken down into, like, fears related to shifting itself, like the process of shifting and, like, just in general. DR specific things I'm afraid about, and then things that I used to be afraid of, which I was like, we can include this in misconceptions, but it was something that I was, like, terrified of, so I feel like we should include it here.
You are definitely more organized than me, but I also feel like a lot of the things that I'm afraid of are very heavily on my brain right now, because I did just have, like, a come to Jesus moment with myself and, like, talk out loud to myself one night while crying about my shifting fears. And then the next 2 days, I listed every shifting fear that I had to you out loud over
You
Snapchat. This poor bitch.
I had 125 Snapchat notifications.
I talked over Snapchat to her for 52 minutes in a row. And I just remember texting and being like, I'm so goddamn sorry. You left me unattended.
I listened to it, though.
Because you're a good friend and you had nothing else to do.
It's like my own podcast from Woo-Wits every day. And I send you one, too. Before you wake up, I'm always just like, Woo-Wits.
Oh, girl, by the time I get up at, like, 1:30 in the afternoon, there's, like, 6 hours of shenanigans to go through.
What would you say is your biggest fear regarding shifting? Like, just in general. And then we can break it down a little more organized in a minute.
Accepting how completely real it is.
Was that because of when you opened your eyes?
I think partially my fear of how real it is came from that, but honestly it started a couple of years ago, I think, because my first mini shift, I didn't open my eyes, but I saw light out of the corner of my eye, and I also heard and felt things. And so I think partially it was kind of that, because I think I had, like, briefly heard things before, and, like, I'd kind of felt things before. Like, in my first year of shifting, someone grabbed me by my fucking ankle, and it scared the life out of me. So I think that maybe has always been a little bit of a subconscious fear, but I've always been able to gaslight the hell out of myself and been like, oh no, I just thought that I felt something. It's probably just like a pillow touching me and I don't realize it, or I'm not actually hearing stuff. It's like something in the back of the subliminal, or it's someone in my kitchen here or something. I don't think it fully hit me how completely real it was until I opened my eyes for several seconds and had every sense and was looking around and shit. And that fear went from something in the back of my mind that I wasn't really addressing to, this is my number one problem in my life now.
Yeah. When I opened my eyes in my PEDR, I just remember as soon as it happened, even though I didn't fully process what was happening, and I was like, is this a vision? Like I talked about in the last video. I think in that moment it felt like my entire life changed, like my brain chemistry changed, because it wasn't just a holy fuck, this is so real. Like that was the first thing that came to my mind, but it was also realizing that everything that I scripted was gonna play out and I was going to witness that and live it. And I was like, what in the fuck have I gotten myself into? But also, like, I've had experiences before that, but like you said, it's almost like I was able to brush those off. But when that happened, it genuinely felt like a big ass weight almost, but not even in a negative way, just like this complete sense of knowing, absolutely zero doubt about it. And it was a lot, and I think that's honestly why I wasn't able to ground myself, because I was so freaked out and had never had it happen like that before, especially because I was wide awake in like 5 minutes into my method, if that.
I think something that not enough shifters talk about, which is part of the reason I'm glad that we're doing this, I don't think enough shifters talk about the fear of the moment you realize you can't gaslight yourself out of it anymore.
That's powerful as fuck. Yep. Literally. You just worded it perfectly. Yeah.
I don't think we as a community realize how much we gaslight ourselves, because, I mean, I don't know about you, but like the first year that I was doing this, I think it was kind of easy to be hit by what anti-shifters would say. I was in like not a great place mentally, and I also wasn't as, like, I don't want to say prone to not caring about bullying, but like I cared a lot more about being bullied online. I don't really give a shit now, especially since 90% of it now is just, you're fat, you're a fat person, and I'm like, yeah, I know,
food. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're a fat person, go to therapy, you're crazy. And I'm like, joke's on you, I spent my last therapy session talking about shifting and she fucking believed me. So bite me. But also, I think it was easier to gaslight myself out of what I was doing a lot for the first year, because the hate was so bad, and also because the shifting community in 2020 to 2021 was a lot of unbelievable shit of people saying they were bringing stuff back from their DRs and teaching Tom Riddle how to shift to this reality, and like twerking on desks and getting shoved down the stairs by Draco Malfoy, and like all this shit that sounded unbelievable. Like, shifting as a concept already sounds insane to people who aren't us, and then it sounds a little harder to deal with as you add in like fictional stuff. But then when you are in the early days of shifting and everyone's like, your clone's gonna eat food you would never eat, and you're gonna bring shit back, and you're gonna get fucking haunted, and the shifting police is gonna have your ass. Like, it's... I was like, we're all crazy, right? Like, on some level, maybe we're all wrong, and we're just lonely during lockdown. Maybe that's what's going on here. But the longer it was going on and the more experiences that I had, it became harder and harder to gaslight myself out. But I think I got used to the process of, and when you started doing like the RAS stuff, it made me think of it. I got used to the process being wanting it really bad, trying, and then not getting there, and then just kind of getting used to that being 100% of the process. So when shit started actually happening and it started changing, I was like, oh fuck, everything's different now.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good way to put it. And I feel like too, with everyone, how they were misconstruing things, I guess, in the beginning with like, I brought this back, and like, you know, they're shifting here for me and things like that, or I disappeared when I shifted back, that kind of thing. I wonder why, knowing this, like, we all had to know at some level that that was bullshit. Like, we had to know at some level that those experiences just weren't true, yet we still kept trying, and I think that's really interesting. And I feel like that kind of either makes us fucking crazy, welcome to Batshit Crazy, or there's just some sort of subconscious knowledge that this was meant for us. You know, the ones who stuck here through all the bullshit, and the Hermione Granger sleeping with Snape, or whatever the fuck it was that happened in that one person's DR. Like, here we are. What does that say about us?
Not Snamini. Do you remember when, wasn't it in Cass's DR that Snape was actively sleeping with Pansy, and then when she stopped sleeping with him, he was like, I'm gonna start failing you on all your tests because you're not sleeping with me anymore. And I was like, not my Severus. Fuck no.
Right, yeah. And I mean, even my first experience, we've kind of determined that I may have been comatose. Like, I feel like some of this stuff obviously could have happened. I just feel like scripting, nobody took that shit seriously in the beginning, but we all kept trying, and I think that's concerning, but also a little bit cool.
Yeah. There is stuff that was in like my first scripts that weren't even, I did a video on my main channel where it's like me reading through like my first script, but it's not even the actual first script. It's like the first one that I found on my phone. I'm pretty sure that like the first one ever was like on paper, and it was like 12 pages front and back. And that shit got burnt. I mean, it wasn't even thrown away. It was ripped up and burnt because God forbid anyone find that, because it was humiliating. I'm not going to say the thing on air where anyone can hear me, but that thing that I told you I scripted in that was deeply humiliating, that was in the paper script. No, but like I think a lot of us were people that were, because we're in like a very nerdy space usually with shifting, I think a lot of us were almost treating it as like an advanced form of like fan fiction or role play or like self-insert POV, and a lot of the people that never really came all the way out of that, I don't think are in the community anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. There was a lot of wild shit. I mean, I didn't join until late 2021, but I mean, I did so much digging. I'm pretty sure I watched all of the 2020 videos too. Wish I hadn't, but I did, and here we are. So one of the big things that I get freaked out by with shifting is balancing my CR and my DRs, because obviously here, in case you didn't know, I'm a mother. I have a 4-year-old, and just the weight that comes with living 2 lives, because it's not just, oh, I'm going on a vacation and I'm going to come back completely unaffected. It's not like you're just going there, coming back, and everything's the same. Everything is going to be completely fucking different. And I know that once I start shifting, I'm like successfully shifting, that's never going to stop. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, especially because I'm worried about remembering things especially because I am different ages and different DRs. Never below the age of 21, just to clarify. But I have like different years. Like when I made my peaky DR, it was 2023. I changed it last year to 2024. I'm not going to change it again. But then in another one, I am 24, and one, I think I'm 22. See, I don't even remember now, and it's like I'm not going to know what year it is until I look at my phone, probably. Even things here, like remembering what day it is, things that I have to get done, like there's a lot that goes into it that I feel like I'm nervous about juggling. And then also, as far as the balance goes, I think realizing that I'm not going to shift to certain DRs, at least not super often, because of the weight that comes with living another life, even if it is for a short time. And so I think that, like, you know, my old DRs, like Twilight and Bridgerton, I think those might just stay in the drafts, if you will. And I think I will have 2 that I shift to consistently, 1 to start out with, and then 2. And then maybe like 1 every once in a while, but I don't think it's ever going to be like, I don't think I'm going to shift to every single DR that I've ever had or that I may ever want in the future. There's got to be some sort of balance there. And I know people have like over 100 DRs, and it's like, I respect it. I was also once that person. But like, think about it realistically. It's hard to balance that shit.
Yeah. I think that I have the same worries because I'm a lot like you used to be in the sense that I have a shit ton of places. Oh God, what was it? Because we named them all last time. Don't I have like 12 or something?
It was 12 or 17.
Yeah, it was something like that. It's my Hogwarts Marvel, Fame DR, Salem DR, Stranger Things DR, our private DR, my Peaky Blinders DR, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, Doctor Who. My House of the Dragon DR, my Hotel DR. That's more of a waiting room, though.
You had a Wednesday one.
Yeah, so there's 13. I honestly am probably gonna put my Wednesday one on like permanent hold. If I do go, I'm probably gonna completely rescript it because I don't really care. I originally was just going because I wanted to like hook up with Larissa Weems because Gwendolyn Christie is gorgeous. But honestly, when I was doing the scripting, I was more interested in the idea of like occult studies college. Like all the classes I was taking had to do with like occult studies and like history of Salem witches and stuff. So it's more of just like weird college, I guess. And I feel like honestly, if I ever do Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, that's one of those ones that like I'll go to one night every time I have a marathon of the movies because I'll just like be in a place and it'll be just like a nice time. I think only a couple of mine are regular as well because I don't think I am scared of the balance problem. I think that I have a tendency, and I've recognized this about myself, especially with therapy, I get very obsessive very fast. And when I get really obsessive about something, it becomes my entire personality. And that's how I tend to be with shifting, is because I get, and you watched this happen to me with like 6 different DRs over the last almost year. Every time I become obsessed with something, I'm like, this is all I can think about. This is all I want to do. This is the only place I want to go. And I tend to do that with everything in my life, whether it's a hobby or a fandom or this, that, or the other thing. And I'm scared of the balance of that, especially because I am neurodivergent and mentally ill, and I have a tendency to run away from my problems. But I feel like I've been doing a lot better about that over the last like 7 months or so. I think even you and other people have all come to me and been like, I think you're dealing with your problems in a more healthy way and you're actually addressing them instead of just ignoring them. And I think that's actually kind of helped me with the balance in a weird way, because I've realized I can't do all those things as often as I would want to. It's not realistic to carry that many lives around with me. I think I'm also aware there are certain DRs that I probably would only shift to for a certain amount of life and that I wouldn't do for a long time. Like I could see myself probably shifting to like my Stranger Things DR for a couple years, but I don't know if it would be like a DR that I'm shifting to for my whole life. I know for a fact, without a doubt, I would be shifting to my Hogwarts DR for my whole life. And I know for a fact I would be shifting to my Marvel DR for my whole life. I think you were right that a lot of DRs sometimes have to be less frequent for the sake of balance, because if not, it can take you out of it. I think as much as I love my Fame DR and the person that I'm with in my Fame DR and all my friends, I think my Fame DR is more for times when I'm feeling horribly cooped up and I really want to be social and go out and do things, because that's like a very people-based DR. It's very based in like me going out to like concerts and parties and music fests and premieres and blah 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 and making content with people. So that's like when I'm feeling very people-based, which is kind of rare. I honestly, I think that our private DR is one that I would only go to when I've just watched the show that my partner in our private DR is from. So that would probably be like I would probably try to shift there every once in a while, but it would be like mostly I'd go because I've just seen that person, and so they're on my mind, and I wouldn't be able to shift anywhere else. I think Peaky's probably a less frequent one. I don't even want to... I had this conversation with her recently. I don't even think I want to start shifting to my Peaky DR until you've been, because I've got some, like, personal worries, and I really want to... That's a fear. I'm fearful of canon bleeding too much into my DR, because there are certain things in canon from that show and from other shows I just don't want to deal with, and I don't even think I want to address what that would be like until you've gone, and I trust you, and I trust your experiences. I don't know with my Salem DR. My Salem DR, whenever it's like a DR I'm currently hyperfixated on, it always feels like it's like a forever DR. I mean, I almost feel like you would know more as the person who's like done the readings for me and has watched me, who would know. Like, that's a curious question at you. Like, do you think this is like a long-term DR for me, or do you think this is one of those ones where like when I'm not on it, it's not going to happen as much?
I do think that this is going to be one that you do shift to somewhat regularly. I'm not going to say like as often as your Hogwarts or your Marvel DR, but I would say definitely more frequently than like our personal DR or some of the like back burner ones. I feel like it's like a step down from the big ones. I feel like it's kind of looped in with your Stranger Things DR.
Yeah, I feel like this one's a lot of... I forgot my Twilight DR. That was another one. I feel like this honestly kind of captures the vibes of my Twilight DR, which is why I don't really think about my Twilight DR anymore. That one's kind of been blown down to like a DR I don't really think of, because honestly, I wasn't even really going for the characters. I was going for the vibe of it was like eternal fall almost, and my Salem DR, I've lengthened out the fall vibes, and it's in... There you go. I was waiting on the M&Ms. And, you know, it's in Salem, and everything that I visualize when it comes to that DR is a lot of, like, perfect fall weather and little coffee shops and bookshops and, like, me and her hanging out doing Halloween stuff when she's not, you know, yorking someone's Bjorn. And it...
As you do.
Only person who's gonna get that is my sister. I think that the vibes that I got from certain DRs have been replicated by others. I think that the vibe of the Twilight DR, the whole point was it was fall vibes. And I feel like I took fall vibes and also added in sapphic vibes, witchy vibes, and Halloween vibes, and meshed them all together into my Salem DR. And so I don't really feel as keen on my Twilight DR as I used to. I think that that's more of a DR that I made for vibes. I feel like Bridgerton's kind of the same way. I made my Bridgerton DR, which I also forgot to list. I made my Bridgerton DR, I think, for the vibes, because I loved the romance between Anthony and Kate, and I wanted some sort of romance like that with that level of tension. But, like, looking back at it, I'm like, if I went to that, I think I would go long enough to live out the plot and then leave. Like,
yeah.
I don't think that it's a DR I would want to go to forever. Like, I could see it being one of those that, like, if you and I are on, like, a Bridgerton binge, like, at the time that, like, a new season comes out, I could see me being like...
suck. Like...
Girl, oh my god, in our private DR, we should, like, script out that season 3 is completely different so we can watch a revised version of season 3.
I have that in all of my DRs.
Me scripting in all of my DRs that the end of Credence is different is the same thing. But, you know, like, if I'm ever, like, in a moment where I'm watching the show and suddenly I'm, like, craving the vibes, it would be one of those, I could see myself going a couple times a week for, like, the summer. And then just being done, because, like, once we've made it through the drama and we're just at the other end. Because I'm a huge proponent, I think that's the right word, of you shouldn't just shift to live a life. If you want to be the main character, if you want to go to feel wanted and to have fun and to have drama and then fucking leave, do you. I don't give a shit. I feel like a lot of
You don't give a shift, brother.
I don't give a shit, brother. I think a lot of people, especially on Shift Talk, really do shame other people when they really script themselves into scenarios where they are 100% the main character, and it's like, you are the main character of your own life. Don't be afraid to live it.
Be dramatic as fuck. I'm here for it. Just be careful.
Yeah. So I feel like my Bridgerton DR would be me being dramatic, and then when I'm done being dramatic, I'm gonna retire it.
And maybe relive it every once in a while if you wanted to.
Yeah, I feel like that's something not a lot of people think about. I think that also, honestly, that kind of thing could also probably be good for you if it's like you go to the same ones regularly all the time. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I could see me putting like a certain DR on a shelf for like a couple months to go somewhere else, do some other shit, and then come back and be like, oh my god, I missed you guys. Like,
my new DR.
I could see me doing that shit.
So I have my Peaky DR, my personal DR. I don't have a better name for it. I've talked about it. It's not like private or anything. Our private DR, my forbidden DR, my quiet fame DR, and then I have 2 kind of in the works.
Is the forbidden one Leonard?
Yeah.
I keep mixing up the forbidden one and the quiet fame DR.
Mm-hmm.
Because originally you were going for like forbidden vibes, and then it just kept getting more and more normal, and I was like, you've missed the trajectory hard.
Yeah, like that one, kind of like my personal DR, just took on a life of its own.
Your trad wife like, DR.
Alright, no, literally. Like, the second wife DR. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But it's so vibey, and I've had so many crazy experiences with that one. We made a whole video last time talking about our shifting experiences. I think it was that night that I, like, astral projected and had that crazy fucking experience.
And it was about 3 or 4 days later that I mini-shifted for the 4th time. We should start announcing that at the beginning of episodes, too, if we've had any progress.
I've astral projected multiple times since then, on accident. So, and on purpose, pretty much on command.
Yeah, I mini-shifted to my Salem DR since then.
I love that for us.
It's been a crazy 2 weeks.
But I think my Peaky one will definitely be my main one. My Peaky Blinders DR is going to be number 1 for sure. That's the one that I'm going to go to probably like once a week, twice a week once I start successfully shifting like regularly. My Quiet Fame DR, I would say, is tied with my personal DR, which I can go into these on like my TikTok or something because I don't want to take up too much time talking about it, or when we talk about our DRs I can talk about it.
Yeah, we can make a whole episode for it.
Yeah, I think those I would shift to at least like once a month each, and then I would have to be in a very specific mood for our personal DR, like our private DR, or my forbidden DR. My forbidden DR is like if I have watched something with him in it that looks like Leonard.
I think that's for when you're feeling saucy.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, and if I'm being so for real with both you and the audience, we made our private DR in January. You don't even want to know how hard our private DR is going to go in October. You don't even want to know. Our private DR is going to go hard as fuck. September, October, don't even talk to us.
Your Salem DR is also going to go real hard in like September, October.
Girl, my Salem DR starts in August because I had my fall start really early.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to catch up on everything between now and then that leads from that to that, because I need you to make like a side-by-side Salem DR with me, because could you imagine us being in our Salem DR and having a Twilight marathon? Don't even fucking think about it.
Oh my god. I will do. I just found a really good show on Netflix that reminds me of Virgin River. That's another place that I want to go. That's like in the works.
I couldn't finish that show. Thank God I ended up in the hospital.
I love that show. Another thing that I'm afraid about, and this might be really specific, mixing up names in my DRs.
I thought it was just me.
No, because here's the thing. All of mine look like Cillian Murphy and are different variations. I don't want to call Tommy Cillian. I don't want to call Cillian Tommy or Leonard. Like, what am I going to do if we're doing the do and I'm just like, Tommy, and it's Cillian?
Then you get real fucking used to acting like a dude who has mistresses and you only call him baby. You don't call him my fucking name in bed. You call him baby, sweetheart. Something. Like, you don't call him by his fucking government name in bed.
I'm also afraid of, like, sleep talking. And my fiance waking me up and being like, what the fuck? Because, I mean, he knows, but also, like, I would be upset too. Another thing is getting memories mixed up. I don't want to go to Jordan and be like, hey, remember that time we did this? And they're like, that didn't happen. Like, that's not here. Not here nor there. Like, what are you doing? That freaks me out real bad.
I have that too, but it's only with people that are in DRs where I've scripted them in. Because I don't have my partner in my DRs. We had a conversation about that a few years ago. I don't love the idea, and neither does she, of us having memories together that we don't remember here at the same time. And I feel like that would be really sad to have memories with her that she doesn't remember. I feel more okay with it when it's other people. My parents and my brother here are my parents in my Hogwarts DR and in my Fame DR and my Peaky DR and my Stranger Things DR. So they exist there. Why did you look shocked, or did you burp?
Am I gonna call Polly mom on accident?
You could follow it up with a mommy joke.
No, because, like... So, for reference, in her Salem DR, we scripted in Polly Gray from Peaky Blinders, who was Tommy's aunt. Am I gonna go up to this woman and be like, hey, Mom? She probably would be that nice.
It's gonna be more likely to happen if you do catch up on all the Marvel stuff and you get to Agatha all along and then you do shift there. I think what my concern is gonna be is how long you're gonna be in the hospital after I beat the hell out of you for calling my mom hot in my Salem DR. She did that shit, though. And I was like, why
Insert picture of Lilith's mom.
Leave my life, leave this live. Like, no.
Goodbye.
That bitch came at me. I showed her an edit of my mom, who's Lily Calderu. And this bitch came at me. She was like, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mom's kind of hot. And I was like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm in your walls and I'm about to eat your shoes. Like, I was big pissing. And I think that we should be concerned about that. I think we should also be concerned about the fact that then what am I going to do when I get to the Peaky DR and I've already shifted to my Salem DR and Polly's someone I've known my entire life as my mom's best friend and my best friend's mom, and she's just like a stranger.
Yeah.
And then I'm overly familiar with her and she's like, why are you fucking looking at me and talking to me? Get the hell away from me.
I feel like she's sweet though and would be like, yeah, you know? I feel like she's here for it. Even if I did call her mom, I don't think she would think twice. She'd probably think I'm homesick.
Yeah, that or she would think you were troubled and had mommy issues.
That, yeah.
Yeah. I do feel like I'm going to get memories confused with certain people, but mostly I think I'm okay with some people because I mean, you and my sister will get it because you're both shifters. So the fact that you guys are, I mean, she's in the same DRs that my parents are. She exists in my Stranger Things and my Fame DR and Hogwarts and shit like that. So she exists in all those. It's usually just like, I think it's because a lot of those DRs are like, my life starts out exactly like this and then I go to said place, but I scripted them in on purpose to my Hogwarts DR. Your ass is in most things, and I've actually spent the last week trying to figure out how to get your ass in all things. So I'm gonna have to figure that one out. I'm pretty okay with accidentally mixing up memories with you because you'll probably just think it's funny and then you'll get to hear a story time about it because you're a shifter, so you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Them is a concern. Them is a worry.
Yeah. I'm just worried because, like, they do all look the same, especially personal and quiet fame. It's just different points in life, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
It
if
freaks me
you
out.
shift to my Salem DR, he looks a lot different than your other dudes. He's like mostly gray. He's very salt and pepper. Like he's like
My
older.
quiet fame DR.
Yeah.
Ow. Meeting them for the first time, that's what I'm afraid of. Like,
I'm
terrified.
I'm gonna cry.
Okay. I've walked over this scenario a million fucking times. I've put it in character AI and Chai and even ChatGPT a million fucking times. Beth walking into this man's office with me and being like, hey, wanted to introduce you real quick, sorry for interrupting. I have to look at this man in the fucking face and not shit on his floor and then have to clean it up because I am the maid. Like, what do you mean?
New fear. That's a reason to be afraid.
It's like almost heartbreaking in a way knowing that I've fought for years to get there and then I will and he's not gonna know me.
That's something that I'm afraid of, actually, to try so hard to get to certain people. And I'm lucky to a certain degree that my bigger ones are people I already know. Like, I already know the people in my Marvel DR. I already know the people in my Hogwarts DR. But I don't with other ones, like with my Salem DR and shit. And you fall in love with people from here. And you truly care about them from the depths of your soul the way you do people you know here. And there is a very real level of fear, especially from me, about loving someone so completely and feeling like they have fucking amnesia and like looking them in the eye and seeing no love, no recognition, no familiarity, no warmth, no nothing. It's just the cold gaze of someone who has no idea who the hell you are and what you've done to be with them. That, I am afraid of that pain, and I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, definitely. All of my DRs, it's me meeting them for the first time, except for my personal DR, which is where I'm going tonight, where he is my best friend. And the thing is with that one, I feel like that's the one that I would be the most comfortable shifting to first, because when I see him for the first time, it's him surprising me. So DR me is already going to be like shaking and like, oh my god, what the fuck? And that wouldn't be weird. You know, that would be expected. I can just like lean into those emotions and be like, holy shit, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's a really good way to go about it. I think that would bring me a lot of comfort, and because he does already know me and already loves me, so
yeah, I think anyone with that sort of fear should like almost go in with like a plan of like why you're gonna explain why you're emotional. My plan in my 2 DRs where I actually know the motherfuckers is I'm gonna go in excusing a nightmare. In my Hogwarts DR, I'm gonna go in, it doesn't matter who I see first. If it's Sev, if it's Minerva, it's gonna be one of them, whoever the fuck. Because Remus isn't gonna get there until after the train gets there, so it's gonna be evening time. But whichever one of them it is first. I am gonna be like, hey, I had a really bad nightmare. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm probably gonna
you just missed a moment. We're not gonna talk about it.
I'm probably gonna tell them that I had some sort of really bad nightmare to do with like previous history or something, so that they'll feel bad enough to hug me and not just stare at me. And I'm gonna do the same thing with Tony, except I haven't really had any trauma in that DR. I'm not hoping for trauma. That's not.
Anyways.
Anyway, so something that I'm afraid of when it comes to shifting.
We just came back from an intermission and Lilith is in her alter ego. This is fucking...
I was in this alter ego earlier. I Snapchatted her with my face like this close to the phone going, I sound like a uniform. I can't turn it off. So this sounds similar to, but is not exactly like the first fear that I listed when I had talked about like how real it is. Maybe this is rooted in my tism. Maybe it's rooted in my OCD. I'm terrified of the change that's going to come with that, because your entire life changes as soon as you get into shifting, but your entire life changes like 68 times when you have to suddenly accept how real it is. Your life changes when you start taking on other lives in other places. Your life changes the moment you have to accept that this kind of thing is real. It, to me, as soon as I opened my eyes, I think that's what I spent honestly so long processing, was the way that it changed everything, was the fact that it changed my outlook on life and death and reality and space and the universe and the multiverse and spirituality and gods and soul. And I think to some degree I kind of always knew there was something, because, and I've talked about this to you, but I don't think I've talked about it on camera. I have had a feeling ever since I was a little child of, and I don't know how to describe it other than this just aching feeling in the marrow of my bones of, I am meant for more than this. That, yeah, that, and I could never explain it to anybody because no one else ever got it. That was the frustrating part. And I wonder how many shifters have this. So if you have this, tell us. This just unholy feeling of life has to be more than school, work, bills, die. Like, it cannot be just that. And I went to school with all these people who knew what they wanted to do with their lives, and I somehow had nothing and everything. Nothing felt good enough to commit my one life to, when there was so much I wanted to do, and I did not have enough time and resources to do it, or it was things that were physically, financially, or completely impossible. And I just had this overwhelming feeling of, I am meant for more than this. I am meant to do more than this. I am meant to do more than just go to community college and have a white picket fence and then a husband and 2.5 children and a dog. Like, and then that be the end of my life. And the thing is, for some people that's perfectly fine, and that is perfectly their prerogative, and I hope everyone who wants that life is perfectly happy that way. But in my soul, I knew I was not meant to just do that, that I did not feel right ever like that. Spending my one life on mediocre jobs and just paying bills until I died and not going anywhere and not doing anything worthwhile felt wrong. And I never knew what I was building up to. And when I found out about shifting, it felt like a connection of two things that I didn't know needed to be connected. It was almost like a link had been broken and suddenly the chain was connected. It was like everything made sense and it connected 1,000 wires in my head. And I think there's even an audio on TikTok that I think it's from like Euphoria or something, of a girl saying, this is the feeling I've been looking for my entire life. And it is. And I know that in order to have that and embrace that thing I've wanted my whole life, I have to embrace change. And I'm terrified because you can't go back when things change. And so I've always feared change, even if it was just something as simple as dyeing my hair. I just dyed my hair from pink to red a few weeks ago. It was like a month ago or some shit. And I walked around for months terrified to dye my hair. You had to deal with me dealing with this. I changed my mind 45 times. And then when I did it, I hated it. I walked around with a beanie on for 2 days. Couldn't decide if I liked it. I cried. The piercings in my face I wanted really bad. I cried for months because it was a change to my face and everything was different. And I've done that again and again and again, even when it was change I wanted and sought out on purpose. So change is really, really hard for me. And I am afraid of this big change because it's not just a change of my hair color or a piercing or this, that, or the other thing. It is literally a change of how I understand life and the concept of humanity and being alive. And that's fucking daunting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also not great with change, and I feel like a lot of us aren't, which is wild because we're shifters and we've chosen this path for ourselves. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things, and it is going to be a lot of weight, but it's not a bad weight. It's just, it's going to be different, you know? And I feel like once you know about shifting, you don't really go back from that ever. Even the people who give up, I know that they, in the back of their mind, they're like, but what if it is real? What if I could do it? I don't think that's something anybody ever gets over, even if they're just introduced to shifting and choose not to believe it. It's gonna stick with them, in my opinion. Let's see. DR specific things. Do you have any things that are DR specific that you're afraid of?
Yeah, I'm terrified in my House of the Dragon DR because I'm around dragons. I'm terrified to be in the same room as a dragon and touch a dragon and ride a dragon. I'm scared of pretty much anything in a DR that has to do with magic. My Hogwarts DR, even though I've wanted to go to Hogwarts my whole life, even though fuck, you know, JK, but Hogwarts is still something that means everything to me. I'm terrified of having to become aware that magic is real. I've always known some level of magic is real because I'm a practicing witch, but it's different when it's going to be like shit moving around and like paintings that talk and brooms that fly. I'm scared of, in my MCU DR, I have pyrokinesis. I'm scared of anything that has to do with magic. I'm scared of coming face to face with aliens and bad guys and having to save lives and be a superhero in my MCU DR. I'm scared of us dating gangsters in our PKDR. I'm scared of the existence of monsters in my Stranger Things DR. I'm scared of my mom finding out I'm sleeping with her high school nemesis in my Salem DR.
See, I love that you added that. Okay, here's my list. Number 1, like you said, we date members of a gang. Tommy's the leader of the Peaky Blinders, and even though I scripted things in for safety, that's not like 100% guaranteed. It's still a flawed reality. Like, this one shit can and probably will go wrong. I'll probably see him covered in blood, like when he comes home from having to do something, or knowing something that I would rather not know, and like carrying that with me. Getting in arguments or disagreements with my DR, like anybody in my DR, I feel like it's going to be really heavy, especially because of, it kind of circles back to what we talked about earlier, putting so much work in and them not knowing. If we get into like a petty fucking like disagreement or argument, they would be affected like a normal person would, whereas I feel like it would affect shifters 10 times harder because it's like, you don't know what we went through to get here. How awkward it's going to be sometimes, especially in the beginning. Like with my Quiet Fame DR, I am going to live with this man who's basically like hiding from the rest of the world because I also want to hide from the rest of the world. But it's going to be very awkward and quiet those first few days because we're both introverts, and it's just going to be like, I'm in your house now. Like, that's going to be fucking weird.
I'm in your walls, dude.
Yeah, I'm nervous about starting a new job. Like in my PKDR, I'm a maid. I'm gonna have to learn, you know, a certain routine, and I'm gonna have to wake up on time, and you know, this completely new system. And I haven't had a standard job here for more than a month since 2019. That's 6 fucking years.
Felt that, dude.
That's gonna be really hard.
I've never had a standard job for anything more than 6 months.
Yeah, like I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I also obviously make content. I make subliminals, I post, I write. I ran a small business for a little while, but I'm talking like a 9 to 5, like doing something. I'm gonna have to do that shit. That's weird and freaks me out. My dad finding out that I'm dating his boss in my Forbidden DR, not his boss in my CR, but like that's scripted that way.
Yeah, please adjust that.
And then
your dad watches this and he's like, "You're doing what with my who?"
The last one is really heavy, so I would like to apologize in advance. This is probably the biggest one. Obviously, time works differently in your DRs. I'm terrified of losing people in my DR and getting old. And I know that there's going to come a time in my peaky DR where I probably end up outliving Tommy, and knowing that like I will probably still be alive here by the time that happens, and having to grieve him and grieve these people in multiple different realities. That scares the fuck out of me.
I've thought about that as well, and if I'm going to be so honest with you, it's in every single one of my scripts that my partners, everyone, all my loved ones, and I live to extreme old age by modern standards. And I'm going to be so honest with you, when I feel like the end is near, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm leaving, and I will start a new one. I will start over.
That's pretty much where I'm at. But like, I think even seeing them old and getting the sense of like this is coming to a close, I'll cry. Ew, we're done. Moving on. Next
Maybe
one.
we should stop scripting and we have age gap romances with every single fucking person that we date, so we have longer.
That's why I freak out so much about like how big the age gap is. That's something that I put a lot of thought into. Like Tommy is, I think, 32 in my DR, and then I think the biggest one is with my Quiet Fame DR. He's 39. Because 40 felt like too much, because I was like, I'll cry. I'll fucking sob.
How big is that age gap?
It's in that one, it's 16 years.
My biggest is with Tony. It's 18. Now, I'm not 18. I'm 25, but the age gap is 18, which is going to piss off my father.
Yeah, like that's something I actually started tearing up there for a second. That's my biggest one. The biggest thing that freaks me out about shifting is that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because grief is multiversal, or if you believe in the consciousness theory,
Yeah.
it's still gonna carry around with you no matter where the fuck you go.
Yeah.
So, that's the last one on my list.
I know that I have a bunch that are like random ones. Something that is a fear I don't think enough people talk about, and I think it is important that we talk about it because I think all shifters think about it and they don't want to talk about it. Specifically for people that are shifting for certain significant others, I have the fear sometimes of building up a person and a relationship in my head for years and loving them so much and then getting there and it doesn't fucking hit and it doesn't feel like you thought it would, and kind of feeling your own heartbreak when you're like, oh, shit. I can't tell you how many people I've seen that they were planning on shifting for someone else and then ended up with someone completely different because it didn't feel right. I mean, not to bring up Cass again, but Cass originally started shifting for Harry. And then she got there and it felt completely platonic. And I know that I saw someone else that I think they were trying to shift for Draco and they ended up with like Cedric because they met Draco and they were like, he's toxic as shit. I can't do this. No judge if you are a Draco shifter. Just saying that that's what that person was saying.
I used to shift for Draco, so there is no judgment.
But I think it kind of breaks my heart to think about I can almost be in control of it when it hasn't happened yet, and I can still manifest that. I think part of that fear also comes from the fact that I, in this reality, identify as a lesbian, and all but 2 of my significant others are men. And I don't talk about that a lot online because I always get hate of people being like, that means that you're a bisexual then. Don't insult bisexuals and lesbians. Listen, I'm talking about a completely different reality that you're not a part of. Has nothing to do with you. I feel comfortable identifying as a lesbian. If those men that I was in love with were here right now, I'm not going to do anything with them. I'm not attracted to them here. Those are realities where I am. That's different.
And also, I feel like fictional men, that's just a very different thing in general, too.
Oh, yeah. Comp het is a very real thing. And I know that it'll track differently if I'm aiming for a DR where I'm interested in men. Then I will end up there, and I will be in the body of a version of myself that's interested in men, so my brain will work differently. But I think there's always the subconscious fear of what if I get there and no the fuck it doesn't. And I get there and I'm still gay.
Yeah.
That'll hurt a lot.
I definitely get that. I think it's different though because we do channel and we do have like confirmation that it is fine, you know? I can do another reading for you on that if you want me to, because I can tell that's really bothering you. I can do another reading and give you some...
I love that you can tell by my face that that's just like something that hit a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we can do that.
Yeah.
Because I've done it before,
definitely.
and I can reassure you again, like, that's completely different realities, but also with channeling and stuff. We already know that it is going to hit, especially the ones that have been around for a really long time, you know?
I mean, in my Beauty and the Beast DR alone, that's...
Yeah.
That, I think, that's another fear that I have. In my Beauty and the Beast DR, we've kind of determined through several readings, thanks to this one over here, if anyone else has ever had this, let me know, but I deduced through readings from her that in my Beauty and the Beast DR, that's the one DR that I have where the other person is also shifting for me. And there's a fear on my shoulders of what if I don't match up to those expectations?
But you will.
Like, that's terrifying. I think that's something that's... We can throw that in really quickly. I have a fear that has to do with the fact that we channel everything so much. I am so used to versions of, like, the higher selves of these people that we channel all the time that these people know us, they're familiar with us, we talk to them like we know them, and then getting to those versions who don't know them, I'm so afraid of humiliating the shit out of myself by being overly familiar with these people, and then them being uncomfortable.
I think, at least with my Peaky Deer, I know this for sure, and with my Forbidden, with all of mine really, I know that even though they aren't going to consciously know who I am, there is going to be some sort of like soul deep recognition, where their higher self's just going to give them a little bit of a nudge, like, go ahead, like, go on. Kind of like when a mom is like pushing her kid to go to a play date, like, go play, like that kind of, not go play, but you know what I mean. Whoa.
I get so nervous about that sort of thing that just in case, for security purposes, I have the audacity to be like, I don't want to be in a relationship with them when I get there. I want to go through the process of falling in love. And then right below that, I'll be like, but they fall in love with me at first sight.
Immediately. Mm-hmm.
Immediately, they've never been so attracted to anyone ever. And I also script in that I am their physical and emotional type, just in fucking case, because I'm insecure.
You're so cute. I love you so much. Dance. Okay. Fears. Let me get serious real quick. Okay. What you said about feeling like you're afraid that it's not gonna hit the same, and the thing about the higher selves, I'm scared that once I shift, I'm gonna lose my butterfly feeling, like, for good.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that.
And the thing is, like, I am so connected to this man's higher self that it's like, I'm worried that that is gonna somehow be affected once I fully shift, or that I'm just never gonna experience that tug ever again. You know what I mean?
I actually have a theory about your butterflies and only yours.
I want to know.
I think that your butterflies is a prelude, and if you will, a imitation of the feeling you're going to get the first time that Tommy looks at you in your DR. I feel like your butterflies are going to hit you the second that he looks at you. That's what I think it is. I think it's Tommy sprinkling in that this is what this is.
Honestly, yeah, and it's weird because it genuinely feels like something has, like, my soul, like, if my soul was a string, they have it and they're like tugging it, like, you need to come here, like that kind of thing. Like, how, I don't know why this is the first thing that came to my mind. If someone like grabs your collar and like pulls you in for, like, it feels like that, but like not physically, obviously. Well, it is like a physical feeling, but it's an energetic thing causing a physical feeling. So I'm so scared of losing those.
I don't think that you will. I think it'll mutate. I don't think you'll lose it. I think it'll mutate.
I think that's why I've never fully shifted when I have them, because I'm so afraid of them going away. Because I'm almost okay with that feeling. And that being
I think maybe you're relying on them a bit too much, babe.
Yeah, I definitely was. I feel like I've worked a lot through that, especially with my Quiet Fame DR and the progress I've made in the past month with, like, astral projecting and stuff, which has been weird. I'm also scared of the journey ending, because I feel like we've built it up and we've worked for it for so long. It's almost like when you read a slow burn, and it's such a good slow burn, and it just hits in all the right places, and there's tension, and there's moments you think they're gonna kiss, but then they don't. And then when that finally breaks, it's very easily the best or the worst part of the whole book, and the entire thing changes after that. So I guess it's a fear of change, but, like, more specifically because of the journey ending. I think I'm afraid of being underwhelmed, and I know that I'm going to be, to some degree, probably a little underwhelmed after a while, at least, when it becomes natural. Normal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when a TV show hinges on a couple getting together, and it's like, I've been rewatching The Nanny, and you spend seasons of the show waiting for this bitch to sleep with her boss, and then the second something happens between them, you're like, okay, now the show sucks, because there's nothing to lead to anymore. I just thought of a fear, and it's so depressing. I'm gonna be so real. We're gonna get extra real on here, like we haven't been doing that for a while. I am scared of being allowed to do the things that I have not been allowed to do, because I will no longer have an excuse not to do them. Because in this reality, I am mentally ill and mentally disabled. I am physically disabled. I don't exactly have a lot of money here. And there are things I will never ever be able to do in this life, period. I am terrified of the world finally being open to me and having the opportunity to do these things. I'm terrified of finally having the opportunity to travel and to do things that I'm physically restrained from doing here. I'm terrified of not having the crutch of my disabilities and illnesses to lean on, because eventually you kind of become dependent on the way of life you have here, and you're always upset about it, but you kind of are also a little bit okay with never getting to do those things because you get used to it. And when I no longer have that excuse and I am just a completely able-bodied person again, because I will still have mental illness, but my physical disabilities are not a thing. So much more, along with finances and opportunity, will be open to me, that I'm terrified of getting everything I wanted. And I'm, quite frankly, terrified of the reality of being happy.
Do you think you're worried about that, or do you think you're worried about shifting back and living here after that?
I think it's certain parts, because I'm in no way a perma shifter. I love my life here. I feel like my life's gotten significantly better over the last several months. I love my friends. I love my partner. I love my family. Yes, things here are not ideal, and it does suck to be disabled. But I think it's more, I have reconciled with knowing there are certain things I will never be able to do, or that if I do them, they will be really, really difficult. And I've kind of become comfortable in the discomfort of being a disabled person. I have become comfortable in the familiarity of what it means to be limited. Limitlessness is horrifyingly scary to me. Not having something physically holding me back from doing something as simple as washing my hair with 2 hands instead of 1, or lifting something heavy, feels scary. I think I'm okay with the idea of coming back here and not being able to do those things. It would just take a bit of an adjustment period. I think it's more having to face life without a crutch. Like, that's scary. Not being disabled is scary.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting perspective, too, as someone who's not physically disabled. To hear that definitely puts a lot of things into perspective, and I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to that, so thank you for talking about it, because I feel like it needs to be said.
I feel like I shouldn't have put cereal in my mouth when you were talking.
I'll have goldfish, it's fine.
I feel like a lot of people don't think about the fact that we can change so much when we shift, and I stopped changing, like, my physical appearance a long time ago. So there is, like, a small fear in me of, like, coming back here and feeling, like, physically inadequate, because I script out all of, like, my unwanted body hair and acne and blackheads and all those things. So I'm going to come back here and be, like, pissed off and frustrated and probably feel, like, kind of inadequate. There's also the fear that plus-size women are not kindly looked upon in this reality. And everywhere that I shift, I automatically script in that I am the ideal body type for that reality. And I feel like I'm going to get really used to being there and being in that, and then coming back here and being like, oh shit, I forgot people hate me.
I feel like that would just
like
give you more of a reason to not give a fuck. To not give a shit. It is kind of. Sorry.
Yeah. It is kind of, it's kind of like right up there with the fact that, like, I don't think people can really make me feel bad about my appearance that much anymore, because my girlfriend is hot, and how bad could you make me feel if I have a hot girlfriend who thinks I'm hot? Like, why do I care what Joe Schmo behind a no profile photo account thinks? I've slept with my girlfriend. Hello, I won already. I won already. You know, and if all these people from my realities think I'm hot, again, I'm just coming out on top, literally.
As you do.
As you fucking do. But I am used to the fact that there are things I can't do here. I can't grip a steering wheel with both hands. Physically, I can't, so I can't drive. I'm gonna have to learn to drive there, because there's not gonna be an excuse not to. I want to learn to drive specifically in my Marvel DR, because I want my dad to teach me to drive. That's gonna be something that I don't really have to deal with here anymore, and I kind of let go of the pressure on myself of having to learn to drive, because I don't think I can. And it's other stuff like that, like things that are physically hard for me here because of my disabilities. I don't have the excuse to get out of those things anymore. Not necessarily that it's an excuse, because it is still a disability. I do still feel pain and discomfort and humiliation from these things. But there's things that I don't have to do here because I can't do them. I will no longer have a fallback of, I can't do A, B, C, so I have to go be a person with everyone else and do A, B, and C.
Yeah. So I think it's really, do you have any other fears that you want to talk about? Because my list is done.
I feel like something that I would like to talk about, not necessarily a fear I have, but I think that it would be good for the audience to see us talk about being able to shift with fears alongside you without having to necessarily get rid of them or completely reconcile with them.
I feel like when I came onto Shift Talk, well, not posting, but like when I found out what shifting was in 2021, it was very much, you can't think negatively about shifting. You can't get frustrated. You can't have moments where you're like, I'm gonna fucking give up. We all have those moments because we're human. We're allowed to feel these things. We're allowed to feel angry and upset, and we're allowed to throw temper tantrums if that's what you choose to do. It's not going to become a blockage unless you let it consume you and you do absolutely nothing about it and you don't even acknowledge it. If you there's a healthy way to go about it, and it won't become a blockage unless you let it control you. And you can still shift with fears, with doubts. And here's the thing, right? People always say it's better to shift and it's easier to shift if you have no doubts and no fears. And I said this to you the other day and it hit different. If you don't doubt shifting at all, if you know that it's real, you understand how real it is, to what extent that it's real, blah, blah, fucking blah, you're not going to be unafraid. If you have no doubt, you are going to have fear. And if you have no fear at all, you're probably not doing it right. Like, seriously. I think that's a ridiculous concept that everyone's like, no doubt, no fear. It's like, do you want me to be a fucking slug? Like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, if you don't doubt it, you're going to be afraid of it. At least a little bit. At least on, even if it's a teeny tiny scale, you're going to be a little bit intimidated by it. And that's okay.
Do you want me to be a slug?
We need to make merch where it's just us as slugs. I'm a slug.
I don't know my MMLs. I think I actually feel better about shifting since I allowed myself to acknowledge my fears. And this was mere days ago, after my 4th mini shift. I think, honestly, something that I would encourage people to do is be so 100% about their fears. Whether you want to do it as shadow work or journaling or talking out loud to yourself, I think burying your fears makes it worse. I think pretending you don't have them makes them worse. And I am 100% from the era of Shift Talk where people were like, you can't be negative, you'll demotivate people. You can't be negative,
Fuck
you won't
you,
shift
Susan.
if you do that. But I think, honestly, I think that if we are open with ourselves and we can live alongside our fears, I think that honestly makes it a more human experience. You're allowed to admit to yourself that you're scared as hell. Change is scary even without this kind of thing that's going to reshape your entire understanding of life and the universe and the meaning of humanity.
Even if you're neurotypical, yeah.
Yeah. Like, this shit is big and it's scary, even if it just comes down to walking around a place that's fictional. That's big. That's scary. That is going to change your entire life and the way that you look at the world forever. And that's not to sound daunting. That's not me trying to scare you. That's just me being real and preparing you for that. All I did was open my eyes in a different version of this room, and I am not the same person that I was before that happened. And I would also like to point out, people who think they can't shift when they're scared, we're fucking scared. We have both done that. We may not have ended up where we were supposed to and stayed there, but mini shifting is
stay there. But yeah.
But mini shifting is still shifting. Being there for a second, or being there partially, or whatever you want to call it, is still shifting. We have still shifted actively multiple times on purpose, and we're not fearless. And I don't think that people really understand that the concept of being brave does not mean being fearless. It means being scared as shit and still doing the scary thing anyway. No one expects you to be completely fearless. That's unrealistic, and it's not human. And I think that it's not human of us to expect ourselves to walk into this very intimidating, scary thing and to be completely unafraid 100% of the time, and to not have any negative emotions, and to not feel frustrated or sad or anything. You're a human being. Accepting your feelings and then choosing to live with those feelings is, I think, the first step of that. If you want to try to conquer those fears and not be afraid of them anymore, that's completely okay and that's your prerogative. But I know personally that a lot of my fears about shifting are things that aren't going to go away until after I have lived them and seen personally that they're not a problem. So they're not going to go away until after I've shifted, or maybe they'll never go away at all. And I have to learn to deal with that, because if I continue to be someone who is held back by fears, I'm never going to have these wonderful things. I personally have an anxiety disorder that I have let hold me back from most things in life. I have missed out on wonderful situations and opportunities and paths of life that I will never be able to get back because I was too scared. And I never want to deal with that again. And I don't want any of you to have to deal with that. And if I let my fears completely hold me back from shifting, I will never know what it's like to go on adventures that the people here will never go on. I will never know what it's like to live 1,000 lives and love 1,000 loves. I will never do magic or ride a dragon or hang out with Carly in the same room where she's 5'9" instead of 6 foot. I will never know these I will never know these beautiful experiences that I am supposed to know. And I don't think that fears are supposed to stop me if I have had a feeling in my gut that I wonder if every shifter has from the time they're a little kid, that I was meant for more than this reality. And not to sound too Beauty and the Beast again, but there's gotta be more than this provincial life. There's supposed to be more than this. It's supposed to be more than this. And you're allowed to walk into your DR hand in hand with your fears, as long as you don't let them stop walking and force you to not keep going forward.
That was beautiful. Yeah, I feel like, here's the thing. People are always like, don't put your DR on a pedestal. Don't put shifting on a pedestal. Don't have fears. Don't have doubts. It's like, what the fuck do you want? Because you can't have all of those things without being a little bit afraid. Like, you don't have to do everything perfectly in order to shift. You can have doubts. You can have fears. You can have your DR or shifting on a fucking pedestal. Will it make things a little more difficult? Who's to fucking say it will or won't? Has there been any studies done on that? Has there been any studies done really at all with shifting? No, we're winging this shit. The thing is, if you have shifting on a pedestal, but you also have fears, that's knocking that shit off the pedestal. It's making an even playing ground. It's making it more real in your brain. You're comprehending it more. And again, if you don't have doubts, you're gonna have fear. Like, you can't have all of these things. I think we truly need to start dropping this whole idea of you have to have the perfect mindset in order to shift. I do think mindset helps a lot, but I think it's starting to hold people back because of all of this conflicting noise from shift talk. I'm guilty of this as well with my old aggressive shifting info videos. I think we all were, because we're all feeding off of what each other, like what everybody is saying, and trying to grow off of that. But this is your own journey. You need to take control of that. You need to figure out, what works for you, what doesn't. You said in the last episode it feels like you almost hit rock bottom and then you have more experiences with shifting, right?
Yeah, I hit the worst part of my life that I've had in the last decade, and then everything happened.
Whereas with me, when I'm feeling really positive, I'm doing good in my life, I'm happy, I'm feeling connected and super motivated, that's when I tend to have more success. I really do think it varies from person to person, and what works for someone on Shift Talk, whether that's letting go of doubts or feeling more confident in their ability to shift, or someone who is just frustrated and using that frustration, it really depends on the person. And if someone tells you you shouldn't be afraid of shifting, don't be afraid, tell them to fuck off. You're allowed to be afraid. And whoever says that you can't, fuck them. Not really, but fuck them.
I think it's right up there with people who are like, you're not allowed to be frustrated when you don't successfully shift. You're not allowed to be upset about how long it takes you. Don't think about how long it's been. Yeah, it's, good to be like, oh, well, it's okay that I haven't shifted in 4.5 years, because once I have the ability to shift, I'll have it forever, and I will live, basically an eternity of DRs. Like, it's fine to think that, and there are days when I do. But also, me, you, and everybody else is allowed to be pissed off and frustrated and sad that you've been trying for this long and haven't done it yet. You're allowed to have days where you cry to your friends because you miss the people in your DR so much. You're allowed to have days where you contemplate giving up and then change your mind at the last minute. You're a human, and people on Shift Talk especially, but people in the shifting community in general, expecting people to be 100% positive all the time is expecting people to be less human because it's easier to digest on social media.
It's okay to have fears, but you shouldn't live in those fears. You don't let it consume you. You don't dwell on it. Obviously, we're talking about it, but it's because who the fuck else is going to, you know? I mean, obviously, this is not me being like, oh, we're the best. We keep it the most real. That's not what this is. People don't talk enough about negative things on Shift Talk. And I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear or want to consume, but it's real. And I mean, like, it is okay to have fears. You can still do it. You just can't let it be this all-consuming thing that, like, takes over your entire journey or your entire life. That's your aggressive shifting info for this video, because I'm too tired to get, like, all up in your face and say, listen here, you little shit. So
3 videos in a row she has said that sentence. My aggressive shifting info for you for this video is, if I can do it scared, you can do it scared. You cannot physically come up with a reason where I will believe that I can do it scared and you can't. So why the fuck are you letting yourself be too scared to do it? I'm not asking you to not be scared. I'm asking you to do it scared. I'm telling you to do it scared.
drop that ass to the floor. You scared, you scared.
I was like, she's been quiet a minute too long.
I was fighting it and I couldn't.
So as far as where I'm going, because I got totally off track, the answer actually changed throughout this video, because I walked in with the intention of going to my Salem DR tonight, and then we started talking about other DRs, and I suddenly got really, really homesick for my Marvel DR, like really bad, which is surprising because I haven't really felt the urge in a long time to go there. My first 2 mini shifts were to there, but I don't really think the urge for my Marvel DRs really happened since that second one. I mean, I think I was trying to shift to my Marvel DR in December, but I think it was more of like a out of habit thing. But suddenly just like sitting here and thinking about it, like, I spent the last like 45 minutes of this podcast flipping between that and my Hogwarts DR. And I think I'm too busy being on the, am I going to be traumatized from being a member of the Order of the Phoenix in that DR? That's a fear. I was in the Order of the Phoenix, and I don't know if I've quite reconciled with that or how to deal with that yet. And I suddenly just started thinking about an ache for home, and that DR feels like a very comfortable home. And being around him feels like a comfortable home. So I'm going to do that. And I'm gonna do the tweaked version of the Any Moment method. If you want to see how I tweak it, there's a video on my channel that you can find in the description about how I tweak the Any Moment method, along with the original version of the Any Moment method in a video as such titled on my channel. And I think I'm gonna do it with one of your subs. I'm gonna do it with, honestly, probably Haven, because that's what I did the other day when I mini shifted for the 4th time. The fuck was that? I was scared it was a ghost. But yeah, so I'm gonna do it with Haven, because that honestly changed my shit. And it wasn't even, by the fucking way, if you haven't used Haven, go do so. Because it wasn't even just that I mini shifted with it. I mini shifted fast as hell. My first 2 mini shifts, I think I was probably in bed for like over an hour during the entire process. And then the 3rd time I did it, I was asleep. So I don't know how long it took. But I genuinely think that using Haven and the Any Moment method, I think I started feeling spatial difference and feeling the AC and like feeling like I was in a different room. I like full mini shifted probably in less than 10 minutes, if I'm gonna be real with you.
Okay, so tonight I'm going to my personal DR. I'm gonna use the embodiment method, which is a new one that I made a couple days ago. I haven't tried it yet. And / the Any Moment method. I'm not sure yet. I have to like really feel the feelings for the embodiment method. And then I'm going to, I don't know if I want to go to my personal DR. Now I'm questioning myself. Maybe I'll go to my forbidden one again. I don't know. I'll figure it out. To be determined. with probably the any moment method, if I'm being honest. And then if I astral project, I'll try and shift through that. Listening to probably Haven, maybe Horizon.
Hell yeah, brother. We're gonna shift tonight, bitches.
Yeah. I don't know why I feel like this is not a case.
Thank you so much for joining us for episode 3 of the Batshit Crazy podcast. If you guys would like to check out the previous episodes, check out our channel. Make sure you hit subscribe while you're down there. Down in the description below, you can find emails for both of us in order to do tarot readings for you guys about your shifting journeys, including channeled readings from people that you love in your DR. And you can also find all of our social media in the description below as well. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us on this episode, and we will see you next time. Deuces.